Welcome to Local is Lekker, where we tell lekker stories about local businesses. And today we are visiting Fritz Volker. Fritz is an estate planner, and I know that a lot of people have thought about getting their stuff in order during lockdown. I would have just left this thing, but I know that for my wife it's very important to have all our affairs in order.
Holger, just to put your mind at ease, you are not alone in this. My own affairs are such that I know what needs to be done. I have my things in place, but my family doesn't. Yesterday I spoke to my 20-year-old daughter Liesel and my son Dieter, who's 19, studying law, and I asked them what would they do if my wife and I were to pass away. And their immediate reaction was they have no idea. They wouldn't know what to do. They would probably just contact my brother Eckhart, who happens to be working in this office, and ask him. But then that isn't how it should be working. One should have a plan in place where the whole family understands that should something unforeseen happen, that there is a procedure to be followed and that documents and requirements are easily found. So the place to keep things should be a known place, either in a storage box or in a safe, and that they can have access to. It doesn't help having a safe that is locked and no one knows how to access it, or can't find the key, or doesn't know the combination for it. So it's important that the family understand that the important documents that are needed on a death are found. I am Fritz Volker. I'm the owner of Estates and Trust Services, a small business that administers estates, drafts wills, does trust administration, and is involved in the fiduciary industry. My background from where I started with this dates back to 1986, whilst I was in an audit firm and we were auditing a trust company. That caught my interest, and after university saw the trust diploma that had become available, and I pursued that industry. So from early 90s I started with the trust administration practical implications, the administering of estates, taking into account what I had learned previously. So my background in the administration of estates, doing nothing else since then, dates back to 1994, and I've been there with Absa Trust, with Old Mutual Trust, and for the last 21 years with my own company, Estates and Trust Services. We're a small entity consisting of my wife, myself, 2 staff members, and 2 outside contractors. We are almost a one-stop shop where we provide tax facilities, tax services, accounting services, conveyancing services, will services, and administration of estates. So we could handle most portions of a fiduciary industry in our small entity, yet maintain a personal touch for clients. The implication of doing everything online or through a broker does not always work, and often you prefer to have a personal discussion of your matters and try and find out if there are things that you might have overlooked by having a discussion and answering questions about things that you might not have thought about before. So my background to this industry stems out of trying to help people, trying to avoid problems that might not have been thought of, and to efficiently find a solution to the process that is an unwanted process, dealing with an estate when someone dies and getting it finalized as quickly as possible, efficiently. So we try and find solutions to get things done which previously might not have been done. So from an estate perspective, when someone dies, the first thing that I do as an executor is I ask the family, please provide me with the information. And more than often, they say they have no idea. They have no idea where to find it. So my situation then is I have to wait till an executor has been appointed And then to the clues, finding the clues in bank statements, seeing what debit orders go through the bank account, see what income is coming into the bank account, and just try and find clues whilst the family also are looking through past correspondence and everything. So most families, probably unlike myself, are not hoarders. I keep every single thing that I've ever had. I throw nothing away. So when I need to find things, I know it is somewhere, and I will somehow find that. My family are different. They would like to throw things away after a week. My wife says if I haven't touched something for 6 months, it must be thrown. And I totally disagree with her, but understand her point of view. So from an estate perspective, the law requires you to keep documents for a period of 5 years. From a tax perspective, you need to have information available. If you don't, and to try and get that information that's asked for is costly. If you need a tax certificate for prior years, it is a matter of asking but waiting until they eventually get it for you. So the importance of keeping documents for an unforeseen event like a death is important. It is important that the family also understand where it is.
Both my parents passed away last year. We are in the fortunate position that my youngest brother is a chartered accountant and he is very good with doing the admin. But otherwise, I think I would also not have known where to start.
So the expectation of knowing everything and feeling embarrassed about not knowing is an embarrassment that you should never be. The guidance that is supposed to be given to you should come from someone who has empathy and can explain the process. Explain it in such a way that it is understood, that it is not scary, that it is not seen as a task, but rather as a requirement to move on with your life. So from my perspective, the whole process starts with the drafting of a will. We try and draft wills in such a way that it is based on practical experiences of where things might have gone wrong. It is easy to decide not to do it professionally, but just to do an own drafted will, and you write things that you want to achieve and you think that is valid. But it is important that you understand the legal consequences of it. If, for instance, you are married in community of property rather than out of community of property with an antenuptial, there are implications. So if your marriage is with the accrual system, there are implications. If you don't have a valid will because you omitted to sign rather than just initial a page, the will might not be accepted, which could cause the will to be declared invalid. And the consequences of that could be catastrophic. So from our perspective, when we draft wills, we don't charge for wills. We advise the clients that they need to have a will. We allow them to choose who they would like to deal with, and if they feel at a later stage to change the will, they need to feel comfortable enough to change the will without thinking they've paid for something and they've lost money by having to redo it. So I would rather that they feel comfortable enough to change a will without any cost implications keeping them from having a correct will. So the background of drafting a will based on practical experience is the experience of having seen what happens if it is wrong. A person thinks he might be married out of community, but is married in community of property. So we had this client who thought with his assets that his wife, a second marriage, should get half of his estate and his children the other half. So by being married out of community of property, it was easy. He would leave a bequest of half of his estate to the wife, and the children would get the remaining half. As it turned out, he was married in community of property, meaning that the wife got the first half, and the second half, which was that bequest to the wife, she also got, leaving the children getting nothing. and it turned out to be a huge mistake. If you start afresh with an estates business, the process is you have a will where you nominate it as executor, and when that person passes away, you then get appointed and you start the administration process, and only once you can take the distribution to the distribution phase, which is about 3 or 4 months after you've been appointed, only then are you entitled to your first fee. And over time, we've now built up this business. For the last 20 years, we must have easily done in excess of 10,000 wills and have done quite a bit of work, which allows us to sustain the business. When I started my business way back in the late 1990s, I was quite brave. I had just gotten married. I had just left the employ of a big corporate. I had just purchased my first house. I had more of a hope of making this a success than an expectation. I had a few supporting financial advisors who assisted me with clients, and as it turned out, one of them died almost at that time. That caused some income to come through, which allowed me to work till the next estate, and over time I've been fortunate enough to be able to continue with this business without outside help. So my aim will always be try and be as efficient as possible so that people are confident to make use of our services again.